Using the nasal Neti Pot for cleansing the sinus cavities. Dr. Robert Cassar, eartheracademy.com. Have you ever seen one of these guys before? It looks like, what do? Rub on it and the genie's gonna go ahead and jump out, right? Okay, this is called the Neti Pot. And this is a brand new one that I just got because my other one broke, but these are made out of ceramic. And we're gonna show you not only how to use the Neti Pot, but going to show you how to make maybe your own Neti Pot and show you a variety of different ways with different spray bottles and things that you could irrigate the sinuses with effectively for different recipes that we're going to use to see if we can remove excess mucus congestion. You know, when you get like the beginning of a flu, right, or the cold, what do? You get a headache. Your body starts to ache, but even before that, you get stuffy nose. Yeah, you tell them, we forgot. And of course, want to introduce Hodo, the star of the show here. Okay. So, he keeps an eye on me. What do you think, Hodo? You want to try the Neti Pot? Huh? You want to try it? He says, nah. Okay, there we go. Hey, look what I got for you. I got a piece of cheese. Oh, look at that. It's his favorite. Okay, so let's say you get a sinus infection. Let's say you've just been outside, right, and it's dusty that day. It's just dry, hot, dusty. Let's say there's a forest fire outside, or just, well, the burning of the buildings. Remember, when a house burns up, what do you think burns up with it? All the plastic, all the paint, okay, all the carpet, the petroleum, the computers, everything in that house, and it all goes up in the air, and it's particulate pollution, and it goes into our cavities of the sinus. And there's 4 cavities that we're going to go ahead and do a cleansing, but let's say you just wanted to go ahead and do a heavy metal detoxification. Well, we've got different types of ways. We're going to use iodine, we're going to use fulvic acid, we're going to use pine oil, we're going to use some magnesium chloride, even, well, some essential oils and CBD. We're going to do about, well, 8 different ways to show you, even using a electronic portable ultrasonic nebulizer for certain types of treatments. So we're going to also use maybe borax, how about sodium bicarbonate, magnesium sulfate, Soleil salt, and, well, for heavy metal detoxification, also ethylene diamine tetracetic acid. And we've got lots of videos on that. Look up at Earther Academy, what is EDTA, how to use a enema and use EDTA, how to be able to make a EDTA, which is for heavy metal reduction, skin cream. And also how to be able to use EDTA, remember, where you've got tons of heavy metals, plastic, petroleum products, maybe, how about rat and mouse poop? Because you're sweeping, remember, the garage, all the dust particles in your nose. How about you live in a brand new house? You get brand new carpet, right? Everything's flying in the air, all the particulates. How about you're wearing a mask right now and you're breathing in all these particulates in your cavities? Remember, you've got the frontal sinus, 4 cavities. Okay, you've got the ethmoid sinus, deep in the back, the sphenoid sinuses, and at the bottom you've got the maxillary sinuses. And these sinuses are cavities. And so they're used when you breathe, right? Warms up your air, makes you sound like you've got some bass. If you sound like this when you get a cold and your nose is plugged, that's the way you sound. And a lot of people don't even talk the way they're supposed to, is because their bloody nose is plugged. Even if one side's plugged, it all of a sudden makes the resonant chambers in my nose, okay, and we speak and communicate with words. And if there's pressure in your face, let's say you get pressure in your sinuses, remember, you're miserable. Miserable, aren't you? Of course. How about just when you get blockage and you get, forget the sniffles, you can't breathe and you're breathing through your mouth. So, number one, okay, we have so much particulate matter in the air. Remember, how about from all the aerosol spraying from the geoengineering? How about just you using shampoo? Remember, there's lots of different areas to clean. The ears, the eyes, And now we're going to do, of course, the nasal sinuses, and we're going to try to show you how to, well, it's not even trying to show you, it's you learning how to do it. The maxillary sinus is easy to wash, it's the bottom sinus. When you start getting into the middle sinuses, the ethmoid and the sphenoid, remember those are deeper sinuses, and they are usually clogged full of pus. A lot of people have a lot of mold that grows in there, yeast, candida, okay, all different weird stuff, and they always have, what do you think you get the flu sometimes? Maybe because you've got a cavity, okay, a sinus cavity, forget the tooth cavity, but a sinus cavity is loaded up full of mold, loaded up full of maybe parasites. And you've got pressure and you're irritated all the time, and when you breathe in, it hurts in your face. Remember, these are all symptoms of what you call sinusitis. And sinusitis is when you, of course, have inflammation, right? Well, you want to give me a kiss? Is that cheese good? When you have inflammation in your face. And when you have inflammation in your face, remember, everything is not good. It's just not. So on part one, I'm going to show you a very simple solution that works on pretty much 90% of the time of any time you want to use this, maybe 85% of the time, but it works really well, okay? And we're going to use a Himalayan pink salt, and we're also going to use some sodium bicarbonate. And this is a basic beginner's solution so you could learn how to do this protocol. And again, like I said, when we get into part two, this is how you clean your ears. These are a special type of wash. When you spray them, they spray out in 4 or 5 different ways, and you use this for your ears for the ear cleaning. And if you haven't watched our videos on how to clean your ears correctly, okay, for the parasites, the mold, remember there's mold in there too, and people wonder why they're sick. You got mold in your ears, maybe mold in your sinuses, I would bet. Your sinuses, remember, are probably full of heavy metals, full of particulate dust, full of just petrochemical pollution. How about the tires? There's supposed to be 20 million pounds of tires just in the United States, or more, something, million tons, who knows? But there's a part of the smog that we see in the air, and you turn your head sideways, you can really see the smog, and if you see the particulates with your eyes, remember, these things are going in your sinus cavity, not only to go in your lungs, that's another problem, but the sinus cavity, remember, when's the last time you cleaned your sinus cavity? When you maybe had a problem, that's it. So mostly this is a wash, irrigation wash, and it's also a therapy for certain types of protocols you want to do. How do you get the petrochemicals out of your face? Okay, out of your sinuses. We're going to show you different types of compounds that you can use. And of course, what do you do after you do these? Well, you have to relubricate. What do you relubricate with? Well, I'm going to show you. So it's real simple. Now, also using hydrogen peroxide, how about that? Okay, how about using Lugol's iodine in combination with some different things for, let's say, maybe, like I said, sinus infection. And if you've got a sinus infection, you know what you're doing? You're taking a bunch of different garbage inhalers, you're putting all these different chemicals in your body, chemicals, that maybe help you with this little problem, the mucus congestion and everything else, but what it does is it just sedates your body, and it's a drug. So basically, if you get a sinus infection, what do? You go to the doctor, and they try a few things, you know, basically, or you've already tried a few over-the-counter stuff, but you can't get rid of it, so what do? You go to the doctor, and what does he do? He prescribes you some anti-life pills. And what are those? Anti-life, antibiotics. And you take these antibiotics inside your body, remember, and all of a sudden you're starting World War III with everybody inside yourself. Everybody, not just the bad guys. No, you're wiping out the women, children, okay, the civilians, and of course a bully here and there. So what we're using, and with these compounds here, these are over-the-counter. Okay, there are a lot of little secrets that I'm going to share with you on this, on how to use this. If not, guys, you can figure it out on your own. But it's nice to learn, okay, all the sort of as from a doctor's point of view. Remember, this isn't just as a layman's point of view. This is a point of view where, you know, part of your immune system is living in your face. And if you can't breathe oxygen too well, remember, I can't breathe. If you can't breathe with your mask, if you can't breathe because your nostrils basically maybe have deviated septums, You smashed your face like I did. And this is how I learned these protocols, is because I had deviated septums. I've had surgery like 4 times. Let me bend my nose. It needs one more surgery. Watch, I can't even breathe. Okay, I can barely breathe out of that nose because my turbinus smashed my head against the windshield. I broke my nose doing the diving team. I used to be on the varsity diving team, and I was doing a 2.5 pike towards the board. Okay, it's called an inward, and I smacked my face right on the platform. Yeah, broke my nose, blood. They had to stop the meet because I had blood in the water. Right, Hodo? But basically, look. This is what happens. You get deviated septums in your nose and you can't breathe well, and what happens is those cavities basically don't get the sort of like opening up the window in your house. It gets fresh air that comes into this room. If I have all the rooms, okay, locked up, I get mold in this room. And as soon as I open up the windows, you know what? The mold can't congregate, it can't colonize. So this is what we're gonna do. We're gonna wash the sinuses. Remember, and the hardest ones to get is the frontal sinus. There's a certain technique to do that. Okay, like I said, the bottom sinus is easy to do. So this is one of the sort of therapies that you can do on your own. Remember, learn to become your own doctor and learn to be able to have critical thinking. You don't just do things, you have to understand them first. So I wrote a description, it's like 25 Google Doc pages, sort of like a mini book, on this therapy alone. I put a lot of time into the description so you guys can get it. And remember, these are all experimental. Okay, do your own research. You're not trying to cure any disease, okay? But what you're trying to do is terrain modify the areas that are sick. Okay, curing is something you can't say, but we're going to terrain modify. We're going to change the environment. Remember, pathogenic bacteria, mold, yeast, fungi, parasites, all that stuff. They poop inside the canal inside there. Maybe you have bad breath and you always smell through your nostrils. You smell yourself, right? Okay, so these pathogenic bacteria, they live in an anaerobic bacteria, okay, lives in a no oxygen system, right, Hodo? So if that cavity gets closed, that thing in there can go ahead and cause havoc by blowing in a black mold or a certain type of problem in your sinus where these bacteria start eating the sinus, start eating the mucus. They start making the areas inflamed and raw. So a lot of these compounds here, these are to heal that, not only to wash it out, but there's, remember, usually if you've got sinus problems, you got problems with you know, the cleanliness of your sinuses. And nothing in your body is supposed to be sterile, of course. Your immune system basically needs, just like cleaning your car, just like cleaning your house, you have to do a once a year or maybe twice a year deep cleaning, right? And every week, keep it up. So a lot of these therapies, you know, are maintenance therapies. But if you wind up, let's say you live in a house and you're using your fireplace all the time. You got a ton of soot you're breathing in through your nostrils, right? Okay, these are called particulate contaminants. Okay, you tell them, Hodo. Okay, and a lot of these types of particulate contaminants, what they do is they irritate the sinuses inside, and the body makes mucus. And this is why when I go to California and visit everybody, one of the things I notice when I go there is I got boogers. I got, you know, in the morning, boom, I blow out these big skulls that come out of my nose. It's from all the particulate pollution that's in the city. Maybe you can't see it, like I said, turn your head sideways, and if you can see any haze in there, that's all particulate pollution. Remember, the tires, when they go on the ground, they wear out all these little pieces. Where do you think they go? They go up in the air. It's part of the pollution, all the industrial, all the exhaust, da, 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 da. Remember, living in California just alone, 40 million people, and of course, you know you got more than 40 million cars probably. Everybody's got, I got 5 cars. So, got a farm, that's why. So, okay, let's get into this now. So, we want to, you know, really show you a beginning, okay, a beginning Neti Pot recipe. And the most beginning is doing what? Warming up some distilled water and running, using the Neti Pot. Okay, like I said, if you don't have one, why don't we just go ahead and do this first? I'm going to show you how to make one. This is just a plastic bottle, all right? I don't even drink out of plastic. I had to get this out of the trash out of one of the guys that drank it. So I've already washed it out with some alcohol, hydrogen peroxide, some soap, whatever you want to use. And we're going to make a Neti Pot. And actually, this works pretty darn good and it's free. Okay, I just don't like to use some of the compounds that I'm using here because it'll start to eat the plastic, because some of the compounds we're going to use, fulvic acid, okay, EDTA, the pine oils, okay, the terpenes, they're going to go in and work on petroleum distillates, all different types of petroleum-based products, which basically is a lot of stuff, right? Everything's made of petroleum. Everything, okay? And, you know, I don't like it eating the plastic. But you're only keeping it in there just for a minute, so I just wash it out really good. So what we're going to do is just get a drill. I've got my portable drill here. Move this bowl right here. Put this back here. And I got a 1/4 inch drill bit right here, okay? And what we have is, we have the top. So I'm going to drill a small little hole in the top, okay? But not, you know, in the middle of it, because I'm going to put this in my nostril. And this actually works pretty good, because why? Because I can really irrigate and push the bottle and squeeze, you know, some pressure through there, versus the Neti Pot, right? This is all gravity, or whatever you want to call it. It's just basically, it's just going down to the floor. Okay, it's finding its buoyancy and density, and it's going through my nostrils. And like I said, doing 16 ounces on each side just with warm distilled water. See if you could get the water to go into the sinus cavity, at least the first one, because the more you bend down, remember, the more you're going to dig into the deep sinus cavities. And the one on top, how are you going to go ahead and just bend your head sideways? It's just going to go into the first cavity, right? And remember, you have 2 sets of these 4 different cavities. So you have 8 different cavities in there. So when I turn my head, that's the easiest way. But then when you really want to get into the middle ones, you got to turn your head even more, right? Because it's in the middle. So I got to get my head down to sort of level, okay? And then once I want to get the upper sinuses, those ones are work, man. And you get that up there, and now you're in the upper sinuses. You may sort of like, I don't know, people don't like to do that one. Why? That's the one you want to pretty much do a lot. That's why we're going to use the nebulizer, and you don't have to put in the solid liquid, but I'm going to show you how to mist it in super micro amounts. And if you don't have a nebulizer, because those are like 40 bucks, you can also use a spray bottle, I'll show you how to use, to be able to mist into the sinuses. But same thing, you still got to lean your head on the side. Understanding this sort of like the physiology, so like I said, watch the description that we have, so you can get an idea where the frontal sinuses is and how big are they and how easy they are to get clogged or dirty, right? It's like a cave. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to keep the top on the bottle so I don't have to go ahead and worry about drilling my finger. And I have a 1/4 inch drill bit here, and I'm going to drill about 1/8 of an inch off the corner, okay, of the top. So actually, I'm going to be about 1/4 of an inch over, but the edge of the drill, my hole, is going to be about 1/8 of an inch. So all you do, make sure we're there, just slowly start drilling away. The magic of plastic. Pretty stuff, huh? My battery's almost dying in this thing. Come on. Okay, so once you get it in there, try to smooth it out a little bit, because you don't want any rough edges on there. But you can see that's a nice hole. And this hole that, okay, I just made is, and you can make them a little bigger if you want to, but this works really good here because you can set this in, and it's nice to put, if you want to get a real good seal, you just put a little bit of oil on here, a little coconut oil or whatever, and you can push this in slowly at first, and then you can just sort of guide it in with the pressure and get it into different areas. So this works really good. I'll show you how to use this in a little bit, but that's how you make one. So real simple, easy to wash, a little hydrogen peroxide or soap, wash it out, and it's ready for next time, okay? And I like the little bottles like this. These are pretty good, this size. You can get the bigger ones, they're just harder to handle and stuff like that, but the bigger ones are good once you get efficient, if you really want to wash your sinuses. And then you never leave this stuff, okay, any of the liquid, you never leave it in the plastic bottle. Always use glass to store anything you're going to go ahead and maybe use again. You can also, I have some herbs here. You can also, take some herbs, different types of herbs, and you can boil these. You can also boil some leaves of the trees. Okay, remember the leaves of the trees are pharmaceutical. The seeds are pretty much medicinal. Okay, if you concentrate them, they are pharmaceutical too. But this is lavender. This is oregano. Okay, remember these all have terpenes in them. Okay, this is a mint. Okay, you know how mint smells, does what? It opens up your nose and cleans you, right? But we're going to use terpenes. I'm going to show you how to use it. Very powerful. These are terpenes, and this is the master terpene. Comes from the pine tree. But, oh, does that smell good? And all you'd have to do is just boil those, let it cool down, and then you'd strain it because you don't want any pieces, to, in there. And let it cool down to basically, you always want to warm if you can. I'm at room temperature right now, so it's about 80 degrees. So I'm not going to even warm my water up that we're going to use. Okay, but you definitely want to try to get the water so it's maybe room temperature if you live in somewhere 84, 82, 80 degrees. But if not, I'd heat it up to like 92, 94 degrees, just whatever body temperature. And then you always want to put, just so you check the temperature before you shove anything in your nostrils, because your nostrils, remember, may be very sensitive. This is why I want you to go ahead and you got to practice first with water, just to see if you can handle doing it. Because we're going to use, first one here, we're going to use salt. And what is salt? Salt's going to burn a lot of things, okay? You can use salt water too. You can go to the ocean, some clean salt water, bring a gallon home, put it in, and you can do a salt water flush. You can dilute it down, or even some people use it full strength. So on this here, you got this cute little pineapple. Okay. Before they're hybridized, this is the size of a pineapple. And when you hybridize a pineapple, what does it do? It gets big. And so, remember, everything in nature came pretty small. Tomatoes, everything. It became hybridized when they made it bigger because, of course, if you're a farmer, what do you want? You want heavy stuff. Okay, so here we go. We take 32 ounce. I like to use the mason jars for everything. I use these to drink. I use these to store things in them. Okay, I use the big mouth only, so I can put my hand in and wash the glass. But I use this for everything, for my cheese that goes inside, right? I don't use anything that's plastic, so I use one glass that does it all. We have those on the recommended products under Amazon too. All this stuff will be under the recommended products. I'll show you where I get the best and the cheapest and most economical. Not cheapest in quality, but the cheapest in price. Because there's a lot of stuff that you, of course, need to know about quality. Remember, I used to be in the superfood business. So this is, again, a salt water sinus recipe. And what does that mean? We're going to use Soleil salt. Okay, and Soleil salt is liquid. You can use the ground salt, but the ground salt has to fully break down in here. Remember, salt and water take a little while. So you want to use, if you're going to use it, you want to get fine ground salt, and you put that into the water and make sure it's completely dissolved. So I'm using Soleil salt. If you don't know how to make Soleil salt, which is the most powerful salt, 26% concentration salt, look up our videos on how to make Soleil salt. And it's very simple. You just add water, I put some minerals in, and I put Himalayan salt because it's the only closed mine salt there is. A lot of the other salt, remember, is full of toxicity. So I'm going to use the liquid salt because I don't want to wait around to let the salt break down. And then I'm also going to use a second salt, which is sodium bicarbonate, right? Borax is also sodium tetraborate. These are alkaline salts. And the interior of the nostrils, okay, or the cavities, if they're sick, they are acidic. And what do we want to do? We want to clean up. We want to use, because you can use any of these products, borax, even magnesium sulfate we have here, so a small amount of Epsom salts you could go ahead and use. Just like I said, I'll show you how to use all these different things in part 2 because it's too sensitive to show anybody other than the salt and the sodium bicarbonate, just the basic simple thing. But once we get into the part 2, you're going to learn a lot of different things on not only these different recipes, but how to use nebulizers and different things that you can do. Because, of course, remember, becoming your own doctor means you're your own teacher. You're not anybody else's, but what you find out that works for you, what do? You share to other people what you've already used and you've sort of like sifted through to be able to see if it's got purpose or not. And once you experience these therapies, and or remember, you're a carpenter and you've got all these different therapies at Earth Academy in your medicine chest. And anytime you have the need for cutting yourself, look, you could use the fulvic acid, the iodine, okay? You've got different ways to be able to do a more naturalistic approach. So remember, it's all a work in progress. We do change things as we upgrade, enhance, and optimize, just like we should, right? Okay, so this recipe, first thing I'm going to put in here, I'm going to do a 32-ounce glass. I'm going to put in 30 ounces. Are you still hungry? Huh? I didn't bring anything else for you. You ate that whole piece of cheese? Wow, you ate it all, huh? Okay, so I'm just making sure there's a couple bumps in here. So how much of sodium bicarbonate do you use? Remember, in the beginning, you always use the minimal amount just to test the waters. Like I said, you may have sores inside there. You have no idea. Just like any therapy that I'm sharing with you, you always start out at the lowest and work your way up. You don't just jump in. Remember, you don't just dive in the pool. You put your toe in there, what? To make it feel, right? I'm going to put in the maximum dose here for me. So I'm going to put in half a teaspoon. Some people use more. You don't need to. Okay? You need to put a small amount of this in there. And what you do is you irrigate it a few times, better than putting a lot, because that sometimes irritates, because some people are sensitive to using any of these compounds just because you got a lot of bloody problems in your sinuses, right? Or just doing enemas or whatever it is. A lot of people have a lot of underlying issues and they have no idea that they do. So what we do is we put in a 1/4 teaspoon to start and a 1/2 teaspoon at max dose in 30 ounces of water. I give myself a little pouring room, right? And now I'm going to just take the liquid salt, and you could use up to a teaspoon if you want to, but again, okay, I would use the maximum 1/2 teaspoon dose and do it a few times and try to get the sinus, this stuff into the upper sinus. Remember, you put this in the upper sinus, you want low concentration because it works you. Okay, so I'm going to put the maximum amount in here, but you would do the same in this recipe. A 1/4 to a 1/2 teaspoon of each. Okay, so I'm going to do 1/2 teaspoon here, Soleil salt, mix it up, and I want to just make sure everything's diluted. And if this was cold water, again, the last thing you want to do, unless you had super inflamed sinuses, okay, you can put in cool water in there, not cold, and you can put it in there and that'll cool them down. But most people's sinuses, they're just inflamed, they're clogged, remember, they're dry, they're not healthy. It's because maybe of a variety of different reasons, but you'd be surprised on how many people just from breathing fluoride every day and chloramines and chlorine in your shower. This stuff goes into your sinuses, okay, and causes it to get dry. That's why you want to clean up your water at your house. This is distilled water. You only use distilled water if you can. Second best is RO. If you've got fluoride, you need a RO filter with a fluoride filter, right? You have multiple filters. We have them on Earth Academy. I have a guy custom make them for us. They're not expensive, but you want the good filters, okay? The good internal parts of the filter. It's not just the housing. And you don't want small filters, you need bigger ones. But the best water is a distiller. Use it for all your recipes, for all your cooking. I just store it in glass, gallon containers, and it's sterile water. You do not use well water in here. You would boil that water first. If your water, because some of the Neti Pots, I mean, people use, it's not the Neti Pot or the therapy, it's the crummy water you're using. People are using water that sometimes have amoebas in there, right? And you're shoving this stuff into your sinus cavity, which isn't smart. Live organisms, not good. Okay, some people have died using like lake water or something dumb. Not too smart. Remember, critical thinking in these therapies too. Use your brain. Okay, if of course, okay, you guys are listening to this, I know you do have them, but most people, as you notice, they're not really activated too much. Critical thinking is not just being smart on a keyboard. Critical thinking is to think through things and really think them through. Okay, so we have this simple recipe: salt and sodium bicarbonate, which is also salt. These are both alkaline products, compounds, in water that's a little bit slightly acidic, but now it's alkaline. Now, what do? You wash your Neti Pot, okay? Or if you're going to use, okay, a nebulizer or anything, you always wash these things. Never use anything brand new because there's always petroleum pieces in there from the residue from whatever they're using or whatever garbage. Just fill the neti pot up to the neck. Okay. And I like to get a little water down the back of my throat first because a lot of times your throat's dry and it's like sort of like a shock on it, right? Gargle a little bit. Get the back of your throat moist, okay, because this is important to do. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this in, and like I said, you don't have to use oil, but on that other plastic bottle, sometimes you get a little better sealed, but on this neti pot, it seals perfect. And you can see the hole here. That hole in the neti pot is the same size hole that we made. It's a 1/4 inch hole. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this in this nostril right here. I'm just going to make sure that I'm not going to collapse the nostril. I'm going to pull it back a little bit so I can open the nostril up. Remember, because I don't want to push it in and smash it. So these are, remember, they're like tubules in here, and each tubule has this sort of like this cul-de-sac in it, right? And the next one goes up and it has smaller cul-de-sacs. The sphenoid's way in the back cul-de-sac. And the frontal sinus is way up top. And like I said, this has a lot to do with your health. It's keeping these sinuses clean. Okay, so here we go. So all you do, got to probably stop talking here. Take a deep breath and just relax. And I'm doing the bottom sinus right here. I already tipped it forward and got the middle one because I can feel it burning a little bit. Working it good. Now I'm going to lean it forward more. Woohoo! And you just breathe through your mouth. Now it's going up to the upper. Oh yeah. Oh. Lean your head way forward. Oh, you can feel it go way up there. It's like when you get water up your nose with the pool. And then I'm going to go back and wash the middle now. Oh, that's all of it. A little more. Whew. And I felt that I got the lower sinus. Remember, right here you get the lower sinus. So I'm about right here in this position. Then when I get the middle sinus, I have to bend forward more, and my head is at least parallel with my chin. Or I have to lift my chin up now to be able to make the water want to flow to my frontal sinus. Woo! And then what you do, just put your thumb. I like to put it in a bowl. I don't like to go ahead and use tissues and stuff. Remember, the tissues are toxic, especially people use toilet paper. Guys, remember, that's butt paper. It's got BPA, fragrances. Just get a bowl. And do it in the bowl. Don't do it in the sink. You can do it in the sink too, but I like to see what's in there. I can see some stuff that came out. I don't have any mucus in my nose. It'll even go ahead and got my ears plugged. And that's another thing. So I got water with this compound. It's in my eustachian tube because I can feel it in there, working it, okay? Remember, your eustachian tube goes from your inner ear and it goes to the back of the throat with a little tube. And so when you swallow, it equalizes out the air in your ear, middle ear. And a lot of people are dizzy, okay, or they got pressure in their head, or they can't hear well. It's because that eustachian tube is plugged. There we go. So I didn't put any water in my ear, but it was plugged like my water was in my ear, okay? So it's in my eustachian tube, so that's good. And I can feel that all the way up into here. So I actually achieved, when you're done, you can feel it. And it works both sides. Remember, it's just detoxing like crazy. So what you do, let's do the other side now. You want to try this? No? Okay. And this water's a little cool, okay? Remember, I know how to do this, but it's way easier to do when it's warmer. Water's probably about 75 degrees or so, so it's a little cooler. But it feels good inside too, but it's better with warmer water. It's just soothing, more soothing. Okay, so I'm going to close my thumb just for a second, clean out my nose. And I'll do this side too. And there's nothing there. But when you're plugged, you get tons of snot that comes out of there, right? And look at it. Look at it. It's green boogers, yellow boogers. That's infection. Okay? And you don't want that stuff congesting you. Remember, you need oxygen. This is why the mask studying to me is BS. Okay? You need oxygen. I don't need carbon dioxide. I let that poison out of my body. The plants love it. Here you go, plants. But I don't want to rebreathe it. Okay? Remember, greenhouse gas. Yeah, no. I want the oxygen gas inside me. Okay, because why? Because it makes me healthy, wealthy, happy, and wise. It makes my brain work. And I can feel that in my head right now. It's good because it feels like it's all cleaned out. So, same thing. I'm going to do this other side here. Okay. Put it in the nose. And then again, don't just shove it in there. Pull the nose back a little bit. And then what you do, it's sort of weird at first, just like in the Matrix. This is going to be weird. But to just let it flow. It's weird. And once you get the bottom sinus, you can move it around too. Get it in that sinus, tilt your head up and back. Whoo, that worked it. Okay. Now I'm going to go to the middle sinus. Oh yeah, that's working it. And you could bend your head like this too. Once it's over, oh, I can feel that really good there. It wants to go down the back of my throat, but I make sure it does it. Now I go to the upper sinus. Oh, I can feel it filling in there. Oh. Oh, I got the last bit. I felt it drip all the way up to my... Okay, we got some better stuff out of that one. You want to try that? So this is taking out, remember, dust particles. Clean your screen one time, just with like a rag with a little bit of simple green on it, white rag, and try to clean your screen. Look at all that black dust. All that black dust is called soot. Soot is from all the pollution from the industrial age. It's from volcanoes. It's from forest fires. Okay, there's a lot of things being sprayed in the air, and it's all coming down, and it all goes into your organs in your body. Not only through the organs, right? The nose is an organ, but it has cavities. It has all these different layers to it. Okay, so what I would do that a couple of times. So you can see I got more water to do there. Okay? If I had infection, what could I do right now? The sodium bicarbonate, and if you get any sort of like drip in the back of your throat, honk it up, right? Like you used to do when you're sick. Okay? You can even gargle if you like, but just sort of cough it up, and then you can see whatever's in there. That's just sort of whitish. Whatever it is, I don't know. It wasn't in there. I didn't feel it really, but it just cleans the sinuses. And I don't have any breathing problems. I don't have any sinus problems. I do when I go to the mainland. My nose even bleeds after the third day from just whatever it is irritating, from the shower, from the chlorine, from the chloramines, the fluoride. Okay, I take showers over there with a shower dechlorinator. That helps a little bit, and I don't take it with hot water because it steams up and I'm breathing all that crap. I open up the shower door. I put a fan in sometimes to be able to blow all that crap. I don't want to breathe it. It's because I take shower in rainwater here, and I know the difference. You guys are just used to it. You're used to breathing pollutants all the time. If you breathe clean air all the time, like up, let's say you lived at 3,000, 4,000, 5,000 feet. You lived in Hawaii here where I live. I mean, this is the cleanest air in the world. As long as the volcano's not blowing on you, it blows all the way on the back side of the island. It never comes here but a couple times a year. So, okay, you can use grapeseed extract and put a couple of drops in here, but don't do it first. Do this first for the first day or so. See if this takes care of it before you, because remember, you want to, the bottom sinus, you could put a lot of different compounds in because it doesn't really, it's not that strong. It's because it's just going in the bottom sinus. And you got to sort of remember, rotate your head back and forth. Try to lean it back like that, and it gets it in the back of the sinus. Lean it forward and twist it. Okay? You tell him, honey. You want a kiss? He likes to give kisses. Yeah? One more? Okay. Yep, Daddy's right here. He says, I'm hungry, man. Put me back outside in the sun. These lights are bugging me. And I have these glasses on right now. These are blue blocker glasses. Oh, I can't even imagine seeing without them. I have 2 LED lights right here, and they're really bugging me. I got to get, like I said, I keep saying I'm going to get different lights, but I've been looking, you can't even find them. So now, that's pretty much what I wanted to show you here. And if you're going to use the grapeseed extract, you just use like a couple drops in there. In 30 ounces of liquid. Remember, you got to run both sides, and you want to try to run 16 ounces on one side, okay? 16 ounces on the other side, but in between, and I mean, don't blow, like I said, in a rag if you have to, okay? Blow in a rag, and you want to look at whatever comes out of there. And if you have a microscope, guys, check it out. You can see a lot of weird stuff in there. Because remember, it's still alive. Yeah, you want to see if there's parasites in there, all different things. You'd be surprised what can live in that cave. Remember that little cave in there, the maxillary sinus, okay, or the frontal sinus bigger? That little cave that big, okay sign, guys, 666, right? That little cave right here, this size, okay, can hold trillions of bacteria. Just think of that. Just like having a filling that has a cavity, okay, or you've got a wisdom tooth that you haven't pulled yet because it's cavitational, okay? And it's got a black mold death that is poisoning you. You have toenail fungus. Watch our videos on cleaning your hands and your feet. Get rid of the toe fungus, okay? Black mold on your toenails. Look at so many people losing their toenails, okay? Hand sanitizer. We did a good video the other day on hand sanitizing. What do you do with this? Well, never use that crummy hand sanitizer. Don't ever use it going into the stores. Go to 4 or 5 stores, you got to use all that toxic hand sanitizer. Look, the FDA just recalled, what, 50 of them or more? Okay, 25 the other day, and there was 75 the other day. How many? Who knows? Recalling it, why? Because it's got triclosan on it, antibiotics, anti-life chemicals. It's got fragrances that are endocrine disruptors. So I make this out of vodka and some essential oils, and a few other things. Watch the video on that, okay? And you can use this. Forget about going in to the store and worrying about your hands being clean, okay? I use this if I want to just sanitize my hands, okay? My steering wheel in my car, I have a little castor bean oil in here too because it makes it so it also lubricates, because the alcohol, remember, in those sanitizers is all toxic. Isopropyl alcohol, ethanol alcohol, even the methanol that they've used in those hand sanitizers, it turns in your body. Liver disease. I didn't make this stuff up, okay? So there's all different videos that we've done. We've got about 15 videos that I haven't processed yet. We got a lot going to Earth Through Academy because a lot of them are sort of sensitive, like how I use chlorine dioxin, what I do when I get the flu, natural pesticides to get rid of. Never use pesticides in your house. Don't use Raid or any of these toxic things you're spraying in your house for ants. I'm showing you different ways to use these same products right here to kill insects. This is for mice and rats. Still smells pretty good. It's got a little peanut butter in there, right? But it's not the toxic chemicals that you're using. Don't buy those. Remember, you're using these in your house. Again, critical thinking. People spraying Raid on their counter because they've got or termites. They use this toxic termite chemical. Not good. So I think we're good for part 1. Okay. And again, you never store in plastic. So when I'm done with this, I'm going to clean this out with a little hydrogen peroxide or a little bit of soap, whatever you got. Clean it out really good. Let it air out. Put the top on. And this is your Neti Pot. We could even try this one. Let's try it. Because I never tried it. We just made it. Got to make sure that it works, right? So let's fill this dude up here. This is the rest of the solution. Let's put a little more in here so I can squeeze it better. Okay, so I got this thing filled up. Yeah, and you can see water comes out, and you can see what's going to happen on it. I'm going to put this in my nostrils, right? And I'm going to squeeze it. Start slowly. Okay, let's put this over here, Hodo. Set up all my... Oh, and also, forgot to tell you, we're also going to show you how to make ozonated water with an ozone generator and use this in your sinuses. Remember, this is very effective. Okay, And if you don't have an ozone generator, because that's the best, well, you can use a food grade hydrogen peroxide too. But again, don't just experiment. You should get a little pointers first before you start playing around. And never use hydrogen peroxide unless it's diluted in its diluted form, because you could damage yourself. So I'm going to do the same thing. Remember, it's nice to put a little oil on this one here because it's not really the best, but it is good. All you have to do is just get it going. Let it drip in first. So that pushed it up pretty far. More stuff, see? And that's why you want to do this a couple times. Remember, it's not going to irritate you unless you have open sores. Okay, and you can put in less salt. I put in, it goes down the back of your throat a little bit. I put in a half a teaspoon, remember, of the sodium bicarbonate and the salt. And when, you know, you got to get this in the right spot and get it going in the right spot. And when you start pushing it, you'll feel it fill the sinuses, especially if you pull your head back up a little bit, because it can't drain out. It's got to fill the sinus up, and so you got to sort of feel that weirdness, right? Because it feels like I said, you're getting water up your nose in a pool. So what I like to do though is let it start going in first, get it used to it. Ah. No, I felt that go way up again. This actually works pretty good. Okay, now I can use this towel. Wipe my mustache. But my nose right now is super, like, air is free, okay? So again, with all the different weird stuff that's in the air right now, this is a necessity to do. I would, you know, do this at least once a month. You live in the city, you may want to do this every week. You got problems with your sinuses, right? Okay, you wanna clean those up, and you may have to experiment with different recipes, like I said, with the different recipes. Now, when you're finished with doing this sinus, okay, what I use is a little bit of castor bean oil, because I want to put in a little oil into my deep sinuses. Put a little more in here. And so I'll put a little bit on my finger and sort of shove it in there. And really coat the inside of my nose. And I use my little finger. Tell them how don't. So I'm going to do this one here. Use this little finger. Make sure your hands are clean. Remember, wash your hands first before you even start. So you put a little bit on your fingertip and you shove it back into this castor bean oil. Remember, this is anti-parasitic. You can do coconut oil too, but the castor bean oil, I think, works way better. So you put it in deep. And there you go. And you can rub the rest on your face, right? On your beard. Castor bean oil is really good for your beard too. Keeps it shiny. Okay, so I think we're good. I'll see you guys on part 2. But again, remember, you could use this before you exercise, because a lot of times you're going to go, let's say, on a 25-mile bike ride. You're going to go on a run, and you got garbage in your nose, or you just want to go ahead and clean it, because I breathe through my nose as I run. Okay, watch the chi breathing exercise video that we did on how to use the chi breathing to get more energy inside you instead of the which is not smart breathing, because you want to use the nostrils when they work to charge the air as it goes in, and it charges your brain and it gives you energy. Breathing through your mouth uses energy, but breathing through your nose gives you energy. Some of the secrets of these guys that can really, really run a long ways. Okay, that's it. We will see you guys. Aloha. And you can see I got some stuff out of there. We'll see you.